we find out how much crab goes into a crab stick.
Discover how one company makes 47 million lollipops a year.
And we top it all off with whipped cream.
But first, you can have broths, chowder, bouillon, or bisque. A pureed soup, however, is warming, healthy, and satisfying. Campbell's have been making soups in Canada for over 80 years, and they wrote the book on pureed soup.
This facility was the first facility in North America that got approvals from the government to produce a pureed product.
They may be famous for their canned soups, but Campbell's also makes soup in cartons. And one of their most popular products in their Gardener range is butternut squash.
You might think this is a vegetable soup, but technically the butternut squash is a fruit. It's a berry from a flowering plant. But don't worry if a fruit soup sounds strange. This is a very tasty, tried, and tested recipe.
The squash arrives frozen, so it doesn't bruise in transport, and it's already chopped. First, the bigger chunks of squash are chopped down into more manageable pieces in the cluster buster. Once they're the right size, they tumble from the bottom of the mixer onto a conveyor belt.
Now, they're going to be chopped up more with the next ingredient. Freshly diced carrots go into the mix. Their flavor complements the squash and adds to the vibrant color of the soup. Unlike canned soups that are cooked in the tin, soups for cartons have to be cooked first. So the carrots and squash are gently softened up in the cooker.
Yep, now that they're soft, they're ready to be pureed. The mixture drains through a pipe where it gets blended to a smooth consistency. Then it goes back into the cooker.
Meanwhile, to make the soup creamy, buttermilk and potato flakes are mixed together in water. This is then added to the soup, along with a secret blend of ingredients and spices. But we can tell you there's onion, parsley, lemon juice, and sea salt in there.
The potato flakes thicken the mixture, so hot water and cream are added to ensure an even and smooth soup. Rotating blades mix the soup as it cooks for only 10 minutes.
The ability to cook it really fast means it's more energy efficient. We use less steam, less energy, less gas.
Now, because the soup has been cooked outside of the packaging, it needs to be sterilized. To do this, Campbell's uses a state-of-the-art pasteurization system. It's pretty impressive. The soup flows through a system of pipes that heats up the soup to 120 degrees in record time.
Anywhere between 1 minute and 180 seconds. Then it cools it back down again to cool it down to a low enough temperature so that we can actually fill it in a carton.
As it travels through these pipes, it's cooled down rapidly to a temperature that's safe to fill the carton. And again, the carton is sterile. So there's no chance for this soup to be contaminated. It also means the soup will be good to eat for at least 1 year.
The cartons are shaped, then filled right away.
The cartoner runs somewhere between 6,000 and 12,000 packs per hour.
But when they seal it, they don't use glue. A machine closes the lid together, but the seal is created with ultrasonic technology. This might sound a bit James Bond, but high-frequency sound waves melts the plastic together, creating a seal so tight that not even air can get in.
And after all that excitement, jets of water make sure the carton is squeaky clean.
With just one batch of soup, Campbell's can fill 5,000 half-liter cartons. Cartons get boxed together and wrapped with plastic. Then they get a barcode that acts as a birth certificate and passport rolled into one.
We apply a date code to every package that also allows us to trace the product back to which filler it ran on, which sterilizer it ran on, and which blending kettle it was mixed in.
More than 800 cases get stacked and palletized each day. That adds up to 3.5 million cartons of soup every year.
So take away the strain of peeling, chopping, boiling, and blending. Just empty a carton into a pan, heat, and enjoy a classic pureed soup that's also good for you too. Put it on cake, ice cream, or fruit. This dairy product will whisk you away to a dessert dreamland. It's aerosol whipped cream.
And it's at its best when made with real cream. Like at Gailey Foods.
We'll get anywhere from 75 to 90,000 liters of cream separated fresh each day.
It would take close to a year for 15 cows to produce 90,000 liters of cream.
With 63,000 square feet dedicated to dairy, Gailey Foods always has room for dessert.
The perfect aerosol whipped topping is a real cream-based whipped topping.
In the batching mix tank, water and skim milk powder are added to the cream. The total batch measures 10,000 liters.
Each batch gets sent to get the UHT treatment. It stands for ultra high temperature, and the cream mix is cooked to 253 degrees. That's way higher than normal pasteurization, and it prolongs shelf life of the finished product up to a year. 4,000 liters of cream mix can be treated every hour.
It also gives the cream a sweeter and richer flavor.
The perfect whipped cream, I would say, is sweet to the taste, smooth in texture. It has a nice body to stand up on its own.
The next priority is texture. So it's homogenized, which breaks down fat globules to a smaller size, making the cream creamier.
If we did not do that, when you took it home, shortly after, a couple of days later, you might find that your product is actually separating.
There are 2 chilled holding tanks, each with a capacity for one batch of 10,000 liters.
Now the cream mix is ready for the can, but a little pressure is applied first.
The tanks are subjected to a layer of pressured air at the very top of the tank, pushing on the product like a piston. And when the packaging line requires that product, a valve will open up in the packaging line, and that slight pressure is enough to move the product gently from the storage tank to the filling operation.
And this filling operation is pretty impressive. When the company started making aerosol whipped cream, their machines could only fill 70 cans per minute.
The one phrase that we had is, let's try it, see if it works. Several small tweaks on each piece of equipment in this plant allowed us to hit that target of over 200 cans a minute.
Not only did these guys hit that target, they surpassed it. The line can now run at 240 cans a minute.
The guys in this plant deserve the recognition for getting this line running the way they did.
And the unmarked cans are known as silver bullets. Dispensing valves are crimped in place, but these nozzles do more than just release cream.
It does have that decorative feature, you know, with the 4 points on it. And that's really just to give the product, you know, that decorative look when you spray it out.
But the cream won't whip through the nozzle without another ingredient, nitrous oxide. It's pumped into the can at high pressure, 130 pounds per square inch to be exact. This will be the propellant that will squirt the cream out of the can.
Without propellant, you wouldn't have whipped product coming out of the can. You'd get something that's a little more fluid. The gas itself adds body, it aerates the product and allows for easy dispensing.
These these cans are no longer silver bullets. Up to 120,000 are labeled in a day. Finished off with a bright red cap, they're packed 12 cans per box.
A robotic arm loads and wraps the boxes on pallets. And it's no slouch. 40 million cans are packed each year.
Now, either with fruit, hot chocolate, or a slice of cake, there's no better way to top things off.
If a list of classic candies were made, lollipops would be an easy addition. A staple of many a childhood, this ageless treat is a hit with kids and adults alike.
It's disputed when and where lollipops were first invented, but Kerrs have been churning them out since the early 1900s.
Now, if the Kerr brothers would have thought to put a patent on lollipops back then, that would have been great.
Patent or no, making lollipops was a lot of work.
Lollipops were fully formed by hand previously. So when they first started, it was manufactured and dipped into a stick and left to harden on a tray. So obviously things have changed a lot since then.
Kerrs now operates out of a 100,000 square foot facility and has the capacity to make over 260,000 of their sour pops a day.
It's very fun making candy. Candy is happiness.
The fun begins when sugar, corn syrup, and water are poured into the Solvomat. A Solvomat is used to dissolve the sugars without actually cooking them. The ingredients are heated at 185 degrees Fahrenheit for less than 5 minutes. And once the mixture is dissolved, it's pumped into a cooker to become candy.
A lot of candy. Kerrs will use 2,300 kilograms of sugar a day. The cooker boils the sugars at 285 degrees Fahrenheit. While the mixture cooks, a vacuum system sucks out moisture so it can thicken up. In minutes, the liquid sugary mixture is transformed into a thick candy base.
In other words, it's ready for a little personality. Flavoring, color, and citric acid are mixed into the gooey confection. The citric acid, a weak organic acid, gives it that sour kick.
The candy is well on its way to becoming a lollipop, but it still needs a little work. Large, sweet slabs are placed onto a kneader and are pushed and pulled by bulldozer-like arms, spreading out the flavor and color evenly. Any air bubbles are flattened out, leading to a nice, full lollipop. As the candy is kneaded, it slowly lowers in temperature.
But not too low. If it cools below 122 degrees Fahrenheit, it will begin to harden. Once the candy is mixed and cooled, the batch is cut in half. Each half batch is made into 2,100 lollipops.
Minus the ones that we use for taste testing to ensure quality.
Flavors are taken to the batch roller, which has rotating spikes designed to grip and shape.
But these aren't any ordinary lollipops, and 2 flavors are placed onto the roller, joining them as one. Kerrs markets over 40 different flavors, like blueberry lemon and blackberry mango.
I remember as a child, my favorite treat was getting a lollipop, and if I got 2 or 3 different flavors, I was absolutely in heaven.
As the flavors meld together, the candy shrinks in size. Soon, it snakes through the rope sizer, a series of wheels that form a thin, sweet rope. Now, the action moves quickly, and it needs to, since Kerrs makes over 47 million lollipops a year. The candy is pressed into a circle shape and onto a classic white paper stick, finally wrapped in clear plastic. Over the course of one day, Kurz will use over 225,000 sticks.
Kurz has the ability to wrap 30,000 sour pops an hour. The finished lollipops travel up a conveyor and head through a cooling belt. The candy needs to cool down completely or it will lose its new shape. The sweets fall into a storage bin where they mix with other flavor combinations.
Now, the treats are ready to be packaged. They move onto a scale, and 50 lollipops, or 454 grams worth to be exact, drop into bags. Automatically and carefully closed, the sealed packages move across a series of conveyor belts and onto a collection table,
where boxes are hand-packed by the Kurz team. Then they're loaded onto a pallet. At 48 boxes a pallet and 18 bags a box, that's over 43,000 lollipops. The pallets are moved to a warehouse and are ready to be shipped to stores to brighten someone's day.
Lollipops are special. There is just something about them. Obviously, kids love lollipops, but if you give a lollipop to an adult, it just takes them back to probably the happiest days of childhood.
The mark of a truly sweet treat.
Years ago, samurai warriors and Japanese royalty ate kamaboko, a pureed flavored and steamed whitefish. Kamaboko was highly prized for its delicate taste and texture, as it is to this day.
My favorite is a kamaboko as imitation crab leg.
In the late 1960s, machines were designed to automate the kamaboko process. So Joe learned all he could, bought the machines, and brought the product to Canada.
I like to introduce Japanese culture in Canadian.
For the last 30 years, Joe has been producing fresh and frozen kamaboko for Canadians.
This particular kamaboko is formed into crab-flavored sticks, which are a common ingredient in sushi. But there's no crab meat here.
That's right. The crab sticks start with surimi, which means fish that has been turned into a paste. Joe has whitefish surimi delivered fresh from Nova Scotia or Newfoundland, and he orders a lot of it.
Surimi about 400,000 pounds a year.
Surimi, along with potato starch, frozen eggs, and a water solution of sugar and flavorings, is added. This machine is called a silent cutter, also known as a bowl chopper. It's used in the meat and fish industries. It will stir, mix, and grind the surimi to an even, smoother paste. It also develops the proteins of the fish, so they will hold together.
This machine was inspired by those used in paper mills, and the surimi mix is rolled out in 2 thin sheets. The sheets travel along more than 150 feet of heat-proof conveyors. Once the surimi is cooked, it will become crab-flavored kamaboko.
The oven is set at 120 degrees Celsius. Then they rest as steam evaporates moisture before this process is repeated.
shape, but if it's going to imitate crab, it needs some color. So one side of the stick soaks up a red food dye. The dyed kamaboko are chopped into pieces.
Then they're vacuum packed and then pasteurized for 45 minutes at 95 degrees Celsius. The crab sticks are ready to eat. 10,000 pounds are made in just one day.
Line them up end to end, and in 1 year, you'd have 4,000 miles of imitation crab. And it's a good thing, since Joe is the only manufacturer of kamaboko in Canada.
Crab sticks may not be the real thing, but they pack a flavor that might fool a fishmonger. And since they're lower in price and cholesterol than the real thing, you can enjoy more for less in more ways than one.